Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. Lance Brack here to talk some pro wrestling with you this morning. Hope everyone is having a fantastic Thursday so far. And last night, AEW Dynamite did an episode of Wrestling Fanatic recapping that episode that was live from Phoenix. In case you missed it, listen to that episode if you have a chance. And I want to talk about, once again, the announcement that was made by AEW's Tony Khan about the new AEW show that will actually, I take that back, it was made by Adam Cole, baby, which is the new AEW show that will be starting next month, airing right after Dynamite on TBS. I'm assuming that it'll be 1 hour, 10 to 11, you would think anyway. AEW All Access. I was talking about kind of, it reminded me of TNA Reaction being behind the scenes and everything, but after I did the podcast last night, I saw that AEW posted on Instagram about it, that it's supposed to be an unscripted show and like that, but so it might be a little different than TNA Reaction, because TNA Reaction is showed behind the scenes, backstage after the show, but it was still a work where the guys were still in character after, and they had those interviews with them as soon as they got backstage. That's why it was called Reaction, so it might be a little different than that. Maybe more similar to WWE Confidential, maybe. I remember that when it started. I want to say WWE was still on TNN at the time before it switched over to Spike TV. And when that started, it was supposed to be where they talked about stories. Some of the times the guys were in character, but also other times they talked about things that I guess you could say were shoots. And the first episode, they talked about Stone Cold Steve Austin walking out of WWE when he was gone at one time, when he didn't want to, the whole thing, he didn't want to lose to Brock Lesnar. I'm sure everybody has heard about that by now. And other things that went on in the business like that he talked about. And I remember when Road Warrior Hawk, Miss Elizabeth, Stu Hart, I believe, passed away, they did special features on them that were pretty good. And it was kind of like a documentary, because every once in a while they would talk about different things, and they would have interviews with the talent. Or if one of the superstars at the time did a photo shoot or filmed a commercial, something like that, they would have like the behind the scenes stuff like that. And it was an alright show. I'm gonna say it was anything really that great, but it was on every Saturday night. And then right after that was Velocity. And just before that, just before Reaction, or not Reaction, Confidential, they had a show called WWE Access that was on 2 Hours, which was like, I don't know if I would say exactly a podcast, but it was a talk show where they interviewed, and sometimes they would have the guys on out of character, just kind of like, I don't know if I would really say shoot interview or not, but they made it look like it was unscripted and everything. The first episode of that, Triple H, and they actually, I'm not sure how long it lasted, but for the first episode, anyway, was like they had calls coming in, and then of course they got a few jokers called in, so I don't think that lasted too long. But that show wasn't too bad either. I don't think it really lasted all that long on TNN at the time. And sorry if I'm a little distracted while walking to work this morning. I had some ice and bad wind around here, and I have to walk around a lot of branches. And in front of me right now, there's even almost part of a really big branch from a tree that but it broke off sometime during the night, I'm guessing. So I have to walk around that. But I'm probably the only podcaster that does a podcast while walking to work. Probably the least professional podcaster there is. But hopefully people enjoy it anyway. Or at least I hope so. And a lot of low-hanging branches here. Now back to pro wrestling. This isn't a weather podcast. I apologize for that. So we got tonight Impact Wrestling on Access TV and New Japan Pro Wrestling right after. Tomorrow got a kind of almost like last Saturday where I watched Elimination Chamber and Battle in the Valley. Gonna have another long night because tomorrow got, as usual, Friday SmackDown and Rampage on, and Impact Wrestling No Surrender on as well on Fight TV, Impact Plus, and YouTube for the Ultimate Insiders. I probably should do the smart thing and then just watch either No Surrender live Friday night and then record SmackDown and Rampage, or watch SmackDown and Rampage and then watch No Surrender the next day. Sorry about that. Got distracted by some more branches falling across the street. And if anybody's listening here in the Taylor area or anywhere else in Michigan that has had like a lot of the ice and the bad stuff, be safe out there. And this Sunday on A&E, biography Jake the Snake Roberts. And right after WWE Rivals will be The Undertaker and Mankind, which should be very good. And speaking of A&E and WWE, if you listen to Mick Foley's podcast, Foley is Pod, him and Conrad have been kind of teasing there might be a show coming soon to there that Mick Foley is involved with. But what they say is they haven't received the green light to go ahead and talk about it just yet. Whatever that could be, I don't know if it's going to be like a reality show or anything or some kind of special. I don't know. I don't know if there's a chance where maybe A&E picked up another season of Holy Foley. If you remember that, quite a while ago, it was a reality show about Mick Foley and his family that was on the WWE Network. I believe there was only one season of it, and I'm not so sure that it got really great reviews, but I thought it was actually a pretty good show. I watched it, and I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do another season, to be honest. So that's all for this episode of Good Morning Wrestling fans. Thank you once again for tuning in, everyone. Stay tuned for episodes of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. And I'll be back right here for the Friday episode of GMWF tomorrow morning. Until then, everyone, hope everyone has a great Friday. Hope everyone enjoys Impact Wrestling, New Japan tonight. Keep watching pro wrestling.